lot of people are just way too scared to take the jump. I'm sure everyone in this room, anyone listening, has a little something where they're like, oh, I really like that. But they're scared. I want to post videos of me cooking online. No one will like it. My friends will make fun of me. If you keep pushing yourself and you keep trying, you're going to succeed. And I always tell people this, it may not be in what you start with, like when I started, I thought I was going to be the biggest rap artist in the world. And am I a rapper now? No. And then I moved into producing, and then I moved into songwriting, and then it's come full circle now where I'm like an artist of some sorts again. I think you just jump in and just try something. Just try, and who cares if you're gonna fail? Who cares if you fail? I don't understand. That's the thing I don't understand. It's just you just get up and you do it again. I have amnesia. The second I fail, I'm like, the next day I wake up, I'm like, all right, let's do it again. Whenever I do fail, I'll sit. And I'll sit there and I'll be like, this didn't work how I wanted it to. But so many times have been the opposite, where I was like, this will never work. And then it's big. So it's like, I feel like it always evens out. Yeah. And you only have one other choice. It's like, your only choice is just to keep going. What are you supposed to do? Just be like, oh, it didn't work. No, get up and you do it again.
We hear this in so many different platitudes. Every day is a new slate. You can forget your failures, get up and try again. This idea is so simple. I think it can be hard to hear at times, but something about the way it was expressed here, especially in the full context of this interview, has really stuck with me as an artist. I keep coming back to it. I mean, at the end of the day, no one cares as much as you do about your perceived mistakes. And yet, why do we feel so shameful when we try and post something new, try something different out, or try being vulnerable on a larger scale? Why is that so scary? Hi, my name is Kate. I'm an artist, and this is my series called Kattle Considerations, where I talk about art, culture, and the internet, or just anything I want to have a discussion around. And this whole concept of shame and posting is most certainly something that I have struggled with, and so many other people have struggled with, and I will probably continue to struggle with to some degree. But the point is that I can recognize this perceived shame that I may feel and just keep going. And I think a lot of what empowers me to do something like that is to try and unpack where this shame is coming from. We've all kind of had the experience where you wake up one day, you have a really big pimple or just something that you weren't expecting that maybe you perceive as embarrassing or just not your best look. And then suddenly when you walk down the street or you talk to someone, all you can think about is how that person is probably thinking about your big honkin' pimple. But the great news is that most likely, A, this isn't true. They probably aren't even thinking about your pimple at all, or at least not to that degree. Or B, they're most likely a person with good intentions that isn't going to judge your character based off of something that you can't control. We all struggle with what's called the spotlight effect and just thinking that people are thinking a lot more about us than they actually are, which is so silly. We're all just thinking about how everyone else is thinking about us when all of us are just thinking about how the others are thinking about them. We're so silly like that. But no one remembers your failures as much as you do, assuming your failures aren't harming anyone other than your ego. And I know I'm being a bit of a plug, but this is what my song No One Cares is about. We're all just in our little realities. You can think of no one cares as a negative, like, oh, no one's noticing me or whatever, or you can see it as something that's really freeing. No one cares. So be yourself. I've been thinking a lot about how art and expression, or just whatever being yourself is, doesn't have to be about being good or aligning with the current standard of what great looks like. I got the most minuscule little hater on my song the other day. It was actually quite a nice hater. Like, they just kind of said my song was bad, which, you know, to each their own. But I was really pleased with myself, because I think in the past, something like that would have really led me to question my worth as an artist, or just my decision to put out music publicly anyway. But I was able to just take a deep breath and say, for me, it's not about being good. It's about taking my experiences and turning it into something. And that transformation process is enough. And that is always the most fulfilling part. I'd be lying if I said that the response to anything I create doesn't matter, but I don't think it should ever be the strongest motivation for what you're doing. Because if it is, you're never going to try new things. Which brings me to my next point, in that we should not be afraid to try publicly. I don't know why this is such a concrete example for me, because I don't really go to the gym that much. But when I used to go, it's not always my favorite experience, because I just always feel like I look like I'm being goofy while I'm trying to work out. But in reality, no one is looking at me. But whenever I was in those scenarios, I always thought, you know what? Even if I'm being a little goofy, or I'm still learning how to use these things or do these exercises properly, I'm proud of myself that I even came to the table. I came to this place to try, whereas I could have stayed at home and not done anything. I have also had the experience when I was a kid of making videos or making music when I was just learning. So yeah, there's definitely some embarrassing stuff in there, and having it be passed around behind my back amongst my peers. And it's not fun by any means, but you have to remember that no one's thinking that much about what you're doing. If at most it's like a flash in the pan of their day, especially when our attention is being pulled in so many different directions, truly, no one cares. Or B, if there are actual people making fun of you for trying to learn something, then I don't know. I think the best thing you can do is feel sorry for them, because if that's how they're spending their time, they've probably never garnered up the courage to share what they love or work on something they're truly passionate about in a public forum, because it does involve risk and it does involve courage. It's fascinating that most of the people I know who actually make stuff, actually put some risk on the line, are never the ones to talk bad about someone. So the best critics are the ones who actually have skin in the game. And coincidentally, those who do are much less critical. I've seen people also, myself included, have this experience of, well, it's cool, I can get past the barrier of posting stuff or creating things, but I don't get any response at all. And that can be painful too in its own right, but I try and think of it as a lack of response is just that. It doesn't mean that what you made is bad or that it won't resonate with someone in the future. It's just like a little data point you can tuck away and use that to inform what you do next. I also find it really helpful to focus more on the depth of the interactions that I'm having in response to my art versus the quantity of them. It's much more meaningful to me when, even if there's one or two comments, I see that something I created, even if it's not super popular, even if it's not hitting the algorithm in whatever arbitrary expectation I set for myself, despite having no control. If something I made really means something to someone, even if it's just one person, how cool is that? You created something that served as a bridge to connecting with someone that you might not have crossed paths with otherwise. That is so beautiful and so rare, and some people won't ever get to experience that. So it's not about being the best. It's about projecting your unique collection of experiences and influences and adding to that conversation. And if you stay true to that and make expression and connection your top value, you're naturally over time going to foster a community that's attracted to that. I hear a lot of people talk about how, I can't do X because I'm not talented. And I've always hated the word talent. While it's true that we all come with different natural strengths and weaknesses, I think there's a huge misconception that those perceived as successful in whatever arena are significantly smarter, more skilled, etc., than the general population of people. One thing that also really resonated with me is he talked about that he wasn't really good at music. And I think he said he wasn't really good at anything. But what set him apart is that he just kept going, and that sounds so cheesy. I think one critical point is that he stayed open, right? Benny talks about how he originally wanted to be like the most famous rapper ever. And that's not what happened. But he stayed confident in his perspective, in his love of music, and let those interests naturally shape where he went. Putting yourself out there over and over and over in a way that's authentic to you will inevitably help you find what you didn't even know that you were looking for. I feel like the surprises, not what initially got you in motion or the goal that you were focused on, or what's most rewarding. I could look at myself and be like, hey, I never got to go on tour yet, or my music didn't hit whatever expectation that I might have had. Those goals don't really hold as much weight for me anymore as they might have earlier on in my journey. I think now I just want to stay open and stay sustainable, because that's a hard one in the music business, let me tell you. But when I think about it, it's like I got to meet so many new friends and collaborators I didn't know existed through my music. I've gotten to interview one of my most favorite artists. I got a little message from one of my most favorite artists. I got to write a piece in a magazine about my perspective on the music business. And these are all things that I could have never foreseen. And it's mind-boggling to me. But if I had never put myself out there, made all those terrible beats that are still available on my channel and still make me cringe to this day, I would have never gotten to where I am now. All of these things surpass any expectation I could have had and are so much more important than like an arbitrary subscriber count or like count or listener count or just numbers on a page. These are things that I'm going to carry with me for the rest of my life, and I didn't even know that they could even exist. In my view, and it wasn't always this way because, right, I didn't have like all the little social proof moments that I've gotten within the past little bit. But I don't think confidence is built from striking gold one time or like going viral one time, having a flash in the pan, exciting moment. I think it's built from believing in your ability to learn and persist, especially when you don't have proof or backing that you're doing the right thing. You've got to just really follow your heart and do it because you want to follow your heart. There has to be some internal reason for why you do something. And as you go on that path and you keep going and you keep following it, I feel like you'll naturally attract people. You don't get to decide what scale, but you will naturally attract people who believe in some of the same things you do or want to connect in a community that you're creating. I also recently watched this interview by Colin and Samir with Jacob Collier, and he said, "My job isn't to know who I am. My job is to make space for who I am." I thought that was so beautifully said. If you can get out of your own way and just do things for the sake of them, be brave in your unique combination of whatever it is, you're going to find something. Because you already find something when you're participating in an activity, in a community, in a conversation that truly resonates with who you are. I am so small, I don't really know if I can really speak to this, but I like to read a lot of memoirs and that sort of thing, and it does seem to be the case that the more successful you become, the more you have to lose. And so the more scared you become of taking risks, despite taking risks and not caring as much being the thing that made you successful in the first place. I think if anyone can hold on to their wonder and their playfulness and hold it high above their self-imposed limits or shame of being seen in exactly who you are because you're enough just being your unique little concoction, I would be really delighted to see what kind of art, what kind of conversations, innovations that would come about. Anyway, yeah, thank you so much for watching. It's going to be a crazy month. I have a show at the Bowery Electric next week. I will be going first, so that's exciting. And then I have an EP called Diluted coming out soon. Thank you so much for all the love on No One Cares and Survivor's Guilt and Hair of the Dog. Lots of fun things in the works that I cannot wait to speak more on. But yes, thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, I would love to hear your thoughts. How do you help yourself get past the the fear of how you're going to be perceived by others or the internet or whoever? I would love to hear. But yeah, I will talk to you later. Bye.